Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to this session. This week's session is regarding the bliss of paradise, a glimpse of Jannah, the delights of paradise. And if I've got time, I'll also go through some parts of the torments of Jahannam. Now, this is a really important part of our faith because we believe that paradise exists and Jahannam also exists at this very moment in time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in a hadith, I have prepared for my righteous slaves that which no eye has ever seen, no ear has ever heard, and it has never crossed the mind of man. Never crossed the mind of man. So paradises exist, but there is no comparison. There is no comparison between the world, and there is no comparison between the world and paradise. We have been given examples in the Quran Kareem, but what the reality is going to be, that will only be known in the hereafter once the person has passed away and entered paradise. Then only will we know what paradise is really like. Okay, so as it mentions in the hadith, paradise is something which a person can only imagine, but the reality is only known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we will know about once we enter the realm of the hereafter. What is paradise made of? Paradise is made of bricks of gold, silver. There are parts of it made of ruby, saffron, musk. And this statement also mentions that life will be eternal. Clothes will not wear off and youth will not fade. What about the width of Jannah? How big is paradise? The width of Jannah is enormous. Again, nobody has a true knowledge except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There have been ahadith mentioned, there have been traditions mentioned about the width of paradise. And as I'm going to mention later on, that the last person to enter paradise will be given a paradise which is equal to 10 times this earth. So paradise is enormous. The gates of paradise, there's a hadith that mentions that whosoever reads Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammad abduhu wa rasuluh, after he or she has performed wuzu, then all the 8 gates of paradise will be open for that person, which shows that there are 8 gates of paradise, but in reality there are actually every kind of act a person does, every kind of act a person does, that will basically have a door. So, for example, Allama ibn Hajar, rahmatullah alayhi, he mentions that there are 4 other gates: Babul Salah, for those that have performed Salah; Babul Jihad, for those that have sacrificed their life in the path of Allah Ta'ala; Babul Sadaqah, for those that give charity; Babul Rayyan, which is again mentioned in Hadith, for those people who have fasted during the month of Ramadan. So there are various types of doors that each person will enter from. Specifically, when it comes regarding to Babul Rayyan, it is said that Babul Rayyan will only be entered by those people who are fasted during the month of Ramadan. Again, there are other doors as well: Babul Iman, Babul Zikr, Babul Ilm, etc. Okay, so it will be like a speciality for each person, because a person has engaged in so and so deeds, so Allah Ta'ala will honor that person by giving him or her a special door to enter when that person enters paradise. When people enter paradise, they will be given a first meal, a first breakfast, and according to one hadith, Abu Sayyid Khudri radiallahu ta'ala mentions that the whole earth will turn into bread. So the first kind of meal and breakfast will be bread again, which will be served to the inhabitants of paradise. Every single person in paradise will have extreme beauty. In a hadith, it mentions that the first group that enters paradise will have their faces shining like the moon, the 14th moon. If you've ever seen the 14th moon, if you ever go outside, even in the UK, even despite being bad weather, majority of the time you can actually see the 14th moon shining, meaning the Islamic month. If you look at the Islamic month and find out when the 14th of the Islamic month is, and then you go outside, you shall see that the moon is at its brightest. So yes, people will have beauty like the moon, like the stars. There'll be no enmity between each other. And this hadith also mentions that they will have pots and pans and utensils made out of gold and silver. And the sweat, a person when they perspire will not stink. The sweat will be made of will emit fragrance like perfume, automatic perfume. Okay. There's also a narration that mentions that when a person enters paradise, they will be very tall, according to the length of and the height of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, the first prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his height was 60 cubits. A cubit is a forearm. So from your, you could say from your elbow to the fingertip. So 60 of them. That's how tall a person would be in paradise. Men in paradise will not have any beard. Men in paradise will not have any beard. They will have their normal hair, any hair which beautifies a person. They will have that hair, but there will be no beards in paradise. The age of people in paradise will be approximately 30 years old. Because at the age of 30, a person completes their youth. They're not old. They're not very young. They have completed their kind of intelligence at the age of 30 years old. Hence, people in paradise, men in paradise, will be the age of 30 years old. The gardens and the trees of paradise. One tree in paradise is so huge that if a horseman were to run for 100 years in the shade of that tree, the shade of the tree wouldn't finish. According to another narration, there's the number of 500 years. And every trunk of every tree is made out of gold. So as I mentioned in the hadith on the first slide, these are just examples given. These are just statements given in the hadith, something that we would understand. But in reality, when we go to paradise, we will see what each bounty and favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be in its entire reality. There will also be a canal called Kawthar. And this Kawthar will be given to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Every prophet will have their own kind of fountain and canal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Kawthar, Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar, O Prophet, we have given you al-Kawthar. So this Kawthar has been bestowed upon the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where the ummati and the nation of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be given permission to drink from. And this, other than that, there will be also different types of drinks. Drinks have been mentioned in the Quran Kareem. Also, there'll be a very special drink called tasneem. There'll be many springs in paradise. People will be given to drink pure wine, but that wine will not intoxicate a person. If a person was to drink alcohol and wine in this world, it would intoxicate a person. In the hereafter in paradise, the wine will not intoxicate a person. It will give a person a kind of buzz. It will give a person a kind of enjoyment. Okay. The people of paradise will always have dignity and honor. And there is a narration that speaks about people of paradise will sit with each other. They will meet each other and they shall talk about what kind of deeds they accumulated whilst they were in the world. In paradise, there will be no, there won't be any need to go to the toilet. There'll be no need to spit. There'll be no need to clean the nose. Anything that is filthy in the world, anything that's regarded as unclean in the world, that will not exist in paradise. Paradise is full of beauty, is full of cleanliness. Okay. The utensils of Jannah, I spoke about that already. They'll be made of gold, of silver, anything that basically delights the eyes. And I also mentioned that whatever drinks are available, everything will be available, to be honest. Everything that's available to drink will not cause any intoxication or cause any headache, any stomachache. Another narration regarding the mounds of the Jannati, meaning transport. There would be horses in paradise. If a person wished that their horse would fly, their horse would fly in paradise. If a person wished in paradise that they would like Lamborghini or Ferrari and you want to fly in it, that would happen. Anything that a person imagines in paradise would happen. Nothing is impossible there. There's a narration that mentions that there's one slight subtle difference, and that is some people in paradise will have such a status that just by them merely thinking that thing would exist for them. And there'll be certain people that once they've said that they want something, then they would receive that item, and so on and so forth. So the hadith over here, it mentions that should Allah Ta'ala make you enter Jannah and you express your desire to mount on a horse of red ruby, it would materialize, it would happen. Your horse will be flying in paradise according to your desire. You know, it's like you saying that you're in America and you have a desire to fly all the way across to Australia on a horse. In paradise, that will happen. And like I mentioned before, that the smallest paradise will be equal to 10 times this world. So that's the kind of bounty that's awaiting a person once they enter the realm of the hereafter. But obviously, this cannot happen without committing to good deeds. In paradise, there'll be no hatred, there'll be no enmity, people will have no malice towards each other, and it will be kept clean and there'll be no filth. The clothes of the people of paradise, there'll be plenty of ornaments. People will be made to wear golden bracelets. There'll be bracelets made of gold and silver. There'll be clothes made of silk. And there's a hadith that mentions that the ornaments of the believers will reach up to where the pour water reaches during wuzu. So basically, I'll give you an example. If a person was washing their arms in wuzu, wherever the water reaches, that's the amount of ornaments you'll be given in paradise. So basically, if a person was washing their whole arm in wuzu, then that whole arm would be given to wear a massive bracelet or ornament in paradise. Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, a very great sahabi, a very great companion of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to wash his arm all the way near to his armpit. And somebody asked him, why did he do that? He said, because when I go to paradise, I want my ornament and jewelry to be enormous, so enormous that it goes all the way up to my near my armpit. Okay, so that was his own kind of. It doesn't mean that you start doing wuzu and start washing all that now, but it does mean that a person will be given plenty of ornaments in paradise, whether they're male or female. Now, what we've got to understand is, for a male in the world, wearing any type of jewelry is forbidden. For a woman, wearing any type of jewelry is permissible. But when it comes to utensils, meaning spoons and pots and this and that, a person, whether they're male or female, it's forbidden for them to use any gold or silk types. But in paradise, whether it be a male or female, both of them will be able to will be given the permission to wear such ornaments and to use such utensils made out of the gold and silver of paradise, not the gold and silver of the world. Okay. There's another hadith that mentions the Hazrat Abu Sa'id Khudri, very great Sahabi, that the Jannati person will have crown on their heads. The crown will have so much illumination that it could brighten from the east to the west. It could brighten the whole of the east to the west. So much illumination. And I mean, there is a hadith that mentions that a person who has become a hafiz, their parents will be given a crown to wear in the hereafter. They'll be sat on thrones, and their crown itself will shine more than the sun. Okay. There'll also be a marketplace in paradise. Now, this marketplace, according to some narrations, it will take place every Friday. So, Hazrat Abu Hurairah anhu, in his narration, he mentions that would there be a market in paradise? Hazrat Abu Hurairah anhu, he said, yes, there shall be a market in paradise. And again, like I mentioned, it'll be the market will also be different. It'll be according to each person's status. The more pious you are in the world, the better marketplace you'll have in the world. In the hereafter. And after that, after they visited the marketplace, they will be allowed to visit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to go and see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there'll be a marketplace. Some people will be able to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every day, some people every Friday, some people every month. And it also depends on the amount of piety and the amount of deeds that a person has committed to in the world itself. And when the Prophet also mentioned that whether a person would see, how would the person see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How would everybody see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all at once? The example, he gave a beautiful example saying, just like the moon can be sighted by everybody in the world at once, it's possible to sight the moon by everybody in the world all at once in the same manner. The whole entire universe, the whole entire world would be able to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all at once while they are resident in paradise. And like I said, there's a narration that mentions that every Friday this market will take place. And when they enter the marketplace, when they come back to their own residence in paradise, they'll be more beautiful than they were before. According to one narration, they'll have the option of masks in paradise. I'm not talking about the coronavirus mask. I'm talking about a facial mask where they'll be able to choose what they want to look like. They'll be able to choose their beauty when they go back to their residence. Okay. But doesn't matter how beautiful paradise is, there'll be nothing more better. There'll be nothing more honorable than seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, that will be the best of rewards. In the Quran Kareem, there's a verse that mentions the word is mentioned is waziyada, and many commentators of the Quran Kareem mention that waziyada means seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala once people enter the realm of the hereafter, once they enter paradise. And saying this at the same time, the people of the fire of hell, especially the disbelievers, because if a person is a Muslim, they will enter paradise one day. But if a person is a disbeliever, the most difficult time for that person will be that when all the residents of paradise will be given the option, will be given the honor of seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will not be given the honor of seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of their kufr, their disbelief and their bad deeds. And this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran Kareem, innahum yawma idhil lamahjubun. They will not be able to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, it's with the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if Allah ta'ala wished by a person committing to bad deeds, that person would stay in the fire of hell forever. But through the mercy and through the kindness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after being sent, after those people who have committed bad deeds, Muslims, only Muslims, have been cleansed from their bad deeds in the fire of hell, they will then be given permission to enter paradise. And like I said, any Muslim that has uh, even the size of an atom inside their heart of Iman, they actually read the kalima and they died as a Muslim, they will one day enter paradise. So eternal torment in the fire of hell is only for disbelievers. Hazrat Abu Sa'id Khudri anhu, he said, when the Jannati will go to Jannat and Jahannami go to Jahannam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, take out of Jahannam even those who even have faith equal to a grain. And a grain, a grain, let's could say like a grain of rice. So even the slight bit of Iman will help a person, inshallah, go to paradise. There's a narration that mentions that about regarding the last person to enter paradise. Hazrat Abdullah ibn Mas'ud reports that Prophet said that I know that person very well who will be made to come out of Jahannam. So the Holy Prophet actually knew the last person who will enter paradise, and obviously that will be the last person to come out of the fire of hell. He will come out of Jahannam crawling on his belly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, go and enter paradise. When he will come to Jannat and he will find that it's full, he will therefore submit, oh Rabb, Jannat is full. Oh Allah Ta'ala, Jannat is full. How can I enter paradise? Allah Ta'ala will say, go and enter Jahannam. I gave you space more than 10 times of the world. Go and enter. This should be go and enter paradise. That's a mistake there. Okay. So Allah Ta'ala will then say to him that the last person to enter paradise, I shall give you a paradise equal to 10 times this world. Can you imagine if the last person in paradise will be given the space equal to 10 times of this world? Imagine those people who actually enter paradise before that person, how enormous and gigantic their paradise will be. So when the last person to enter paradise hears this, he will be astonished and will say, oh Allah Ta'ala, are you joking with me? He will actually say this. Who would have the guts to say to Allah Ta'ala, are you joking with me? But you can imagine how many bad deeds that person must have done in order to have such an attitude. Then narrating this, the Prophet ﷺ laughed to such an extent that his jaws actually came visible. But this again is a hadith, from which we learn that paradise is enormous. It's unbelievable. It's something that we cannot comprehend until we actually enter paradise ourselves, inshallah. And the next hadith mentions that there'll be eternal life in paradise. I mentioned last week already that death will come in the form of a ram, and it will be sacrificed, and all the people of Jahannam and all the people of paradise will be told that there will be no death now forever. So this will be eternal bliss for paradise, for the people of paradise, and eternal torment and eternal difficulty for the people of the fire of hell. There will be different classes in Jannah. Classes meaning status. The Prophet ﷺ has mentioned that there are 100 classes which have been created for the fighters in the way of Allah Ta'ala. And the distance between one class to the other class is the distance between the earth and the sky. And what I mean by the sky, it doesn't mean like, you go to the moon and that's the first sky. No. Between this earth and the first sky is a distance of 500 years. 500 years, right? And then you have the second sky, which is the second heaven, third heaven. So humanity and human beings and scientists, it doesn't matter how much they develop technology, they can never reach the first sky. The first sky meaning the first heaven. So this is what indicates in this hadith. The highest place in Jannah, those are the ones who will be rewarded with the highest place in Jannah because of their consistent patience patience, therein they shall be met with salutations and peace. So patience, showing this hadith, this Quranic Kareem ayat actually shows that patience is something again which will be rewarded abundantly in paradise. And there's a Quranic Kareem ayah verse which mentions innama yuwaffa sabirun ajrahum bighairi hisab, that those who have patience will be given endless reward. Their reward is infinite, something that only Allah Ta'ala will decide once a person enters the realm of the hereafter. The fragrance of paradise is something that one cannot feel in this world. The fragrance of Jannah is matchless. It is fine, aromatic, and very strong. According to one hadith, the fragrance of paradise can be smelt from a distance of 500 years. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, so I've been through a kind of glimpse of paradise. Honestly, there's much more detail and something I don't really want to dwell through, but if anybody's interested, there are many books out there in English as well and in Urdu and Arabic which cover the detail of paradise. Okay, Allama ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah rahmatullahi alayhi has a very good book named in Arabic Hadil Arwah. I'm not sure whether the English translation is available, but there are books which have plenty of detail. One thing a person should remember is at least once a day a person should make this supplication: Allahumma inni as'aluka al-jannah, Allahumma inni as'aluka al-jannah, Allahumma inni as'aluka al-jannah 3 times. And even better if a person says Allahumma inni as'aluka al-jannat al-firdaus, Allahumma inni as'aluka al-jannat al-firdaus, Allahumma inni as'aluka al-jannat al-firdaus. Oh Allah Ta'ala, I ask you of paradise 3 times. The hadith that mentions if a person says it 3 times, then paradise makes supplication to Allah Ta'ala that please make sure that this person enters paradise. And in the same manner, if a person says Allahumma ajirni minan nar, Allahumma ajirni minan nar, Allahumma ajirni minan nar 3 times, oh Allah Ta'ala, save me from the fire of hell, oh Allah Ta'ala, save me from the fire of hell, oh Allah Ta'ala, save me from the fire of hell. Then the hadith mentions that then the fire of Jahannam then says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then please make sure that this person does not enter the fire of hell. So these are reasons why a person should every time after every salah and also throughout the day supplicate for himself and his family members and the entire ummah as a whole, so that they inshallah will enter paradise and save themselves from the torment of the fire of hell. Okay, does anybody have any questions before I move on to the fire of hell? In paradise, angels will be our kind of servants. Yes, you will be able to see angels in paradise. Yes. Any other questions? Right. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is, if you guys could just log off and log on again, because I'm going to go through the torment of the fire of hell. Okay. If you just log off and log on again, please. Thank you. Jazakallah.